So I was asked to give an update about what we know about Geshe Dado's disappearance. So a few days ago, two nuns were walking down the hill. Many of you who have been here know that there's a pond down the hill. And as they were walking past the pond, they saw something kind of red floating in the pond. And it made them think that perhaps it was Geshe-la. So we immediately called the police, and one of them came out here. Two of them came out, and they looked, and they said, "Yep, that looks like a body." So apparently they needed a boat to get in, but one of our neighbors apparently had a canoe. And they used that. They went out, they fetched the body, and then took it to the coroner, because the first thing they need to do is establish the cause of death and these kinds of things. And then they called Sepak Rigson, Geshe-la's older brother, and told him. And apparently their policy is, after they notify the family, then they tell the news. So they then told the local news, TV and written and so on. So they didn't tell us. We found out because some people had watched the local news, and we started getting emails saying, "We really send our condolences for, about Geshe-la's death." And we're going, "What happened?" And so we wrote, and they said, "Oh, well, we heard it on the news." Oh, okay, so then we turned on the news. Yeah, by that time, of course, they had taken the body and, gone back. So they called yesterday, or we called them to ask for more information, and they said the coroner's report was over. There was no sign of trauma to the body, so that's good. There was, he wasn't beaten. That nothing like that happened. That would have really surprised me if it had. But that's all he could say at that moment. So coroners, the work that they do, because they, investigate what was in the bloodstream and all sorts of different things. So it can apparently take a few weeks even to get the results, the full results of what happened. But we do have closure in the sense that, we know now that Geshe-la, unfortunately, is not coming back, as a living being to teach us. Now, maybe, and this is what we're praying for, that he will have a very good rebirth, or be born in the Pure Lands, and then be able to continue the practice of the path, and come back here, maybe in his next life, and teach. Okay, so Geshe-la has accumulated a lot of virtue in this lifetime. And I really liked what Venerable Tarpa said the other day, that even, when maybe Geshe-la wasn't so happy about one thing or another, his practice was still there. He was still kind. He was still humble. Yeah? So it really shows the power of developing those kind of habitual qualities, that they're there even, when, you don't feel well. And, that's a very good example for us, I think. Mm-hmm. Venerable Rinchen sent around a link to a talk that Geshe-la gave on death to the New York Times. Actually, he didn't do the article. Somebody interviewed him, but it was everything he said. Yeah. Written in language that that sometimes didn't sound like Geshe-la, but the meaning was there. Yeah. And so, in this article, and we'll post it for people who want to read it, Geshe-la spoke, that he was asked, why are people so afraid of death? And he said, well, it could come from a few reasons. One, that they're afraid they're going to cease to exist, or another that they don't know what they will become in the next life and what will happen to them. And yet another cause for fear of death is just losing everything that you have now that is familiar to you, including your own identity. Yeah, everything goes. Yeah. And then, as the interview went on, Geshe-la just was talking about how death is, it's part of life. As soon as we are born, our death is something certain. We don't know when it will be, but we know it will happen. And, as Dharma practitioners, then we know that the most important thing that we take with us is not our obit, and not our pieces of paper, whether they're diplomas or paper money or, any of these kinds of things. What we take with us is our karma and the qualities that we have developed, be they virtuous or non-virtuous. Yeah, and so saying that, knowing that we're going to die is really what gives a lot of meaning and purpose to our lives. Yeah, if we were going to die, then we would probably be pretty lazy about our practice, because you could just, tomorrow, it's like, yeah, I can coast along. But when we're aware of death, then it becomes, our life becomes vivid, and our time becomes very precious. And we don't want to waste our time doing stupidagios. But, as much as we can, create virtue, or at least create neutral karma, without creating non-virtue. So he spoke about that in the interview. And so it's really apparent, how much he has integrated in his own mind, how he can talk about that, how he's meditated on it. And in one of the, there's a set of 10, the 10, highly secret practices of the Kadampa tradition. Innermost jewels, the Kadampa's 10 innermost jewels. So the Kadampa was a Buddhist tradition in Tibet that began after Lama Atisha was there in the 10th, 11th centuries. Okay, and these were the Geshe, the Kadampa Geshes, who were really good practitioners and really practiced the thought training and called out their own mistakes and so on. People you could really identify with and rejoice in their practice. So in those 10 innermost jewels, it talks about dying, and what you give up as you die, and even how, giving up your body and giving up caring what happens to your body after the consciousness leaves. Giving up caring whether the dogs eat your body after you leave. And so, really getting to the bottom of all of our attachment, not only departing from friends and relatives and our whole identity, but this thing that's been with us since we were born, even before we were born, it's going bye-bye. And so not caring and wrapping up about that. I think Nancy Reagan didn't do so well on that part of it. She had her hair done and everything laid out, and the clothes she was wearing, and beautiful coffin and everything like that. And that's what many people do, when they die. They want to look good. Yeah. But in the 10 innermost jewels of the Kadampa, you don't care beans about how you look or what happens to this body, because you recognize it's just, material substance. And it comes, at the beginning of this life, and it goes at the end of this life. And so what's really important is the state of our mind. Yeah, so I think Geshe-la, knowing Geshe-la, had these deep habits in his mind of how to look at things, and was able to put them into practice at that time. So we still will be waiting for some time until we know more about the cause of death and how long the body was there, if they have any idea of the time of death, or at least the day or the approximate week or something. Yeah, because it was 2 months since he disappeared. Yeah. Okay, so that's where we're at. And, as I say every time one of our teacher passes away, is, now our job is to really, practice well and benefit sentient beings. Yeah? So we can't benefit sentient beings like our teachers did, but we can do something. Yeah. So instead of sitting there and like, I don't have any good qualities, I'm that angry person that just gets fed up and angry during meditation. Instead of that, whatever we can do, even cooking, cleaning, setting up for teachings, leading meditations, giving talks, helping people who come here the first time who are really lost and don't know where to go and what to do. There's always sentient beings in front of us, so there's always sentient beings to benefit. And so that's what we signed up to do, and that's really, benefiting sentient beings through bodhicitta, through our actions and through our practice and through gaining realizations. That's the only thing that's really worthwhile to do. When you have a big mind and think about rebirth, we've done everything else. They say, in our previous lives, beginningless, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. What are we going to do this life? Repeat the whole thing again? Create the same kind of karma to stay on the merry-go-round again? So, we have the chance to do something different this time. And so let's do it. To benefit ourselves and to benefit all living beings.